It's a human skin structure is given. Okay. Identify part B and C. What is B and what is C? It's a skin, sir. A skin. Okay. Yes. Blood vessels. So B is the blood vessel and C is sweat gland. Okay, what is D? The adipose tissue. Correct. Correct. Okay. Next one, describe how part B is involved in maintaining the constant body temperature when the external temperature drops. So this whole thing is about the thermal regulation in temperature when the temperature is low. So there are 3 to 4 things that we need to follow. Okay. Correct. Okay. So we have to explain vasoconstriction in detail, like for 3 points. Vasoconstriction, let's say vasoconstriction takes place. Or shall we discuss it and you can do it later? Okay? Okay. The next one is part A is evenly distributed in the skin. Okay? These are certain like parts on our skin. What do they do? I don't want to name it. What does it do? Part A. Okay, these are connected to nerves, but what are these? Receptors, correct. These one are receptors. What is the function of receptor? Okay. The word is they detect. Okay, the word is they detect stimuli. Okay. What is stimuli? Yes, correct. Okay. The sickness of suggest reasons for the uneven distribution. What can be reason for uneven distribution? Okay, on our back there are less receptors. If we feel it on like on our face, there are more receptors. Why do you think so? The exposed areas, good. It depends on the exposed areas which need more sensitivity. So if we talk about our hands, they have more receptors because they need to feel more stimuli. Okay, exposed area or their need, correct. And third mark is for labeling. Okay, the thickness of layer D can change over several months. That's the adipose tissue. So the fat layer can change its thickness over, like what can be one reason for the decrease in thickness? How can you reduce your fat? Correct. Eat less fat or consume less fat in the diet. Okay. Okay. One reason. Okay. Hmm. Correct. So very first thing, if there is less fat in our diet, then it would be less, and if there is like more fat in our diet, then it would be stored as a fat layer around our body, okay, or under the skin. Okay. Next part is a man decided to do some fitness training to improve the ability to provide oxygen to his muscle. Okay. Describe the route an oxygen molecule take from the atmosphere to reach the muscle. Okay, this is very basic. You have to explain the respiratory system, the pathway through the respiratory system. But there was one question someone asked yesterday, that what happens if, what is fitness training basically, and how does it helps the person to get more oxygen? So your answer is related, should be related to the lungs capacity. Okay, when you do the fitness training, it means you are increasing the lung capacity. The person would be able to take in or use more oxygen or inhale more oxygen or absorb more oxygen from the alveoli. There would be lesser lactic acid production at that time, because you would get enough oxygen to carry out or to have that amount of energy. Okay. Okay, so that is lung capacity. Now let's focus on this question. What is the pathway? First of all, it enters from atmosphere to our nasal passage, and then larynx, and then mm, after larynx, what is over there? Trachea. Trachea, and then from trachea to okay, then bronchus to bronchioles, and then to what you have to use a scientific term, alveoli, and then from alveoli to you have to reach to muscles. Supply of blood vessels, okay, capillaries, which then take them to the muscles. Okay, okay. Suggest two changes that would improve his ability to provide oxygen to his muscles. So this is how you develop the fitness, like lung capacity, increase the lung capacity. What should be your answer? So very first thing is okay. Wait, no, the very first thing is increase in the lung capacity. Okay, let's write this first. Increase in, and then second should be cardiac muscle would be more stronger or would pump more blood, would pump more blood. Okay, a graph is given. Oh, this is the same question she asked me yesterday. Okay, so state the name of the chemical process that uses the oxygen to release energy in the muscle. Aerobic respiration, correct. How you would make another line on the graph to determine the maximum volume of oxygen that man consume in. Oh no, here you don't have to make a graph. Use the graph to determine the maximum volume of oxygen the man consume in 1 minute. It's over here, right? If you make a line, it's over here. So it's, I guess, 3.4 cubic decimeter per minute, right? Or we can also write 3.4 cubic decimeter. Okay. Now the question is, the graph show that it is possible for a man to increase the intensity of exercise beyond the point at which he has reached his maximum oxygen consumption. He can only do this for a shorter period of time. That a person can increase what to okay, a person has to reach to that intensity where the oxygen intake is maximum over here. Okay, explain. But he can do it for a shorter time. Why? Because at that time there would be an aerobic respiration. Okay, this is point number one. without oxygen. What is the product? Lactic acid. And why anaerobic respiration is important? To release more energy, because no more oxygen can be taken in, so the extra energy would be given by anaerobic respiration. Okay. And then you can also say that this lactic acid builds up in the body. There's no need to explain the oxygen debt, but just say that lactic acid build up in the muscles. No. After 4 weeks of fitness training, the man measures his oxygen consumption again. Now sketch a graph to show the expected result. This was I was talking about. So what you will do, so where's the graph? Okay, here. Now the lung capacity has been increased, so there would be more oxygen can be inhaled. Okay. Okay, next question. A gardener grows a species of dahlia, a flowering plant. Every year, the gardener chooses his best plant and take cuttings to make a new plant. So this is basically artificial selection. Okay. Okay. What type of reproduction is this? Is this sexual reproduction or asexual reproduction? Asexual one. Okay. Removing the lowering leaves and placing the cuttings in a transparent bag help prevent them wilting until the root develops. Suggest and explain how these two steps help to prevent the wilting. Okay. Removing the leaves mean there would be less transpiration, right? Less transpiration mean less loss of water. And what's the purpose of adding bag? To prevent transpiration. Okay, why? Because the external factors won't be acting exactly. Wind won't affect it, humidity won't affect it. So to like make a barrier between the environmental factors and the plant, it is covered with transparent bag. Okay, define asexual reproduction. Good. क्या यूज करते हैं? आर्टिफिशियल सिलेक्शन कहते हैं बेटा उसको. Genetically identical organisms are produced by mitosis. What is the difference between mitosis and meiosis? Meiosis produces gametes and how many number of daughter cells? And what about mitosis? Two daughter cells, and this happen in all body cells. What about the number of chromosomes? Correct. So in mitosis, the number of chromosomes remain same. That would be diploid. While in meiosis, the number of chromosome become haploid. Okay. The stem of the dahlia cutting contains xylem vessel. Suggest two functions or describe two functions of xylem vessel in young leaf stems of dahlia. And for each function, explain one way in which the xylem structure is adapted for its function. Transport. No cytoplasm. Continuous flow of water. Okay, what is second point? Support. Okay. Because it has lignin. With reference to the name part of the flower, describe how you can achieve this. Okay, what we need to achieve. The gardener's dahlia cutting. Okay, with reference to the name, oh sorry, the gardener decided that he would like to produce a plant that combines the disease-resistant characteristics of one of these plants with the red petal color of another. How would you achieve this? Simple. That would be there artificial selection. Okay, and how is artificial selection done? Now you have to give all the 4 points involved in artificial selection. What are the points of artificial selection? Required characteristics, okay, would be chosen, then, and then pollination, okay, transfer the pollens, then fertilization would occur, okay, then after growth, correct, after growth the plants with required characteristics are collected and allowed to bred again to achieve the required characteristics. Hanji. Okay. The liver contain a high concentration of enzyme called as transaminase. Transaminase. The function of this is it is important in the metabolism of amino acid. Amino acid are absorbed from the alimentary canal by small intestine. What is present in small intestine? And villi and carried to the liver by which blood vessel? Correct. Okay. Name the part of, okay, we have already given. Part of alimentary canal is small intestine and the blood vessel is hepatic portal vein. Okay, there are different type of transaminase. Each type has a specific active site. Why this mean that each type catalyzes a specific reaction? Now you have to give the whole that lock and key process. Good. Yes, I want an answer. Okay, it should be complementary to the active site should be complementary to the substrate. Then, so enzyme substrate complex formed, and then the product would form. That's why they are like, if so, any other substrate cannot bind to the other's active site. Okay. Next part. This is a pond plant is given. Where are stomata present in this in the pond plants in the hydrophytes? Upper. Above on the upper surface. Why? Why they're present in the upper surface? So because they have large supply of water, so they need to get rid of water through the upper epidermis. Correct. Okay. These leaves are adapted to float on the surface of water, suggests one advantage of the leaves floating on the surface of water. What do they get from like the correct, correct, correct. Okay, name the label part A and B. What is A and what is B? Stomata. B is air spaces, correct. With reference to A and B, describe and explain how the structure of function is adapted to the pond plant. I mean, what is the function of A? How does it help the plant? And what is the function of B? How does it help plant? And air surface help them to float on water. So larger airspace means they would have lesser density but more volume. So that help them to float on water. Okay. What is this? What is this trophic level? First trophic level, that is producer. Okay. Compare the structure of typical virus with animal cell. So viruses have only two structures, protein coat and DNA. So animal cells, cell membrane on the outside, and a membrane bounded nucleus, correct. So the हाँ ठीक है. How is HIV transmitted? It's by a direct contact, right? How is HIV transmitted? Blood, sharing of needles. Okay. Next one is use the information to describe changes in the number of people infected and treated between the years 2000 and 2018. So you have to give a complete data and all the values should be given, right? Okay, so we are not discussing it for now. Okay, what is the function of molar tooth for chewing and grinding? Okay, okay. Describe the movement of molecules in the pulp between the blood capillaries and cytoplasm of the surrounding cells. Like how do they move? इंस, इंसाइजर्स के साथ बैठा कैसे. Okay, dental decay is not part of our syllabus now, so let's skip this question. Okay, compare the nerve impulse and the hormonal hormones and compare these two coordinations. One is nervous coordination, other is hormonal coordination. Compare these two. Nerve impulses are more faster than hormones. Nerve impulses passes the electrical signals while the hormone in the hormonal coordination works through the chemical signals. Okay, any other? So nerve impulses last for shorter time while the chemical ones, the hormonal one, stays for longer time. And how about their action, like response good? The nerve impulse, the quick response, the nervous coordination gives the quick response while the other one is slow. Okay, what is the similarity between two? We have given the differences, but compare mean you have to give both the similarity and the difference. Give me any two similarities. They both trigger a response and they both work on a specific organ or a specific effector cell, right? Okay. A girl sees a vehicle traveling towards her at high speed. This triggers nerve impulses and the release of adrenaline. Okay. Describe the role of nerve impulses and adrenaline. Now, how your nerve impulse first respond? Hmm. Eye receptors. Hmm. Then. Hmm. Okay, Shanzi, take your time, take 2 minutes and think about this answer, okay? What's your answer? Correct. Correct. Okay, so this is the nerve impulse. Your eyes would carry the signals, and just give me a minute, and they move to your to the central nervous system through the sensory neurons, and then the response is generated, and then bring back to the effector cells through motor neurons. Okay. Okay. Now adrenaline. The very first function of adrenaline is travel in the blood, makes your heart beat faster. Okay. Then conversion of glycogen brings the glycogen to liver for its conversion. Okay. So to increase the glucose level for faster, or you can say to produce more energy. Okay. And what about your pupils dilate? Okay. So the next question is, describe how nitrogen from the fertilizer can pass from the soil to become part of the food which human eat. So this is basically the nitrogen cycle. So first of all, we'll say what does a fertilizer contain. So fertilizer contains, here it's not written, but let's say it's contain ammonia. The ammonium ions are then absorbed by the roots by active transport. Then they are transported through xylem to the other parts where they makes the amino acid and then proteins, and these proteins are then are eaten by the ingested by human. Correct. Discuss the advantages and disadvantages of artificial nitrogen containing uh, fertilizers. That is eutrophication in very detail. Okay, this is a disadvantage. Disadvantage. I'm not talking about advantage. Okay, advantage is that it would give additional nitrogen if nitrogen is depleted or depleted from the soil. That would be given to the soil to recycle the nitrogen or to provide the enough nitrogen for photosynthesis, or you can say to make food. Okay, and as a result, it would increases the yield. Okay, and the disadvantage is that it would run off into the rivers and lakes where it would form a layer of alga. There is algal bloom, there is eutrophication that would lead to the decomposition or decay by bacteria and the algae. There would be lesser oxygen available. Okay, okay. Were you there when I explained the answer? Do you want me to repeat the answer? Okay. So the advantage is that more nitrogen is available in the process of photosynthesis, so there would be more production of food. Okay, there would be more yield. Okay, the second thing is the disadvantage is that the nitrogen would run off into the rivers and lakes. That would increase the algal formation. There will be eutrophication that leads to decomposition, less oxygen available. Okay, so that is all. We're done with both papers. Now you have to solve this paper. Okay, you have to write it. I'll then check it tomorrow. Okay. Okay.